Hello and welcome to this episode of the Nordic Talk, brought to you by the Nordic Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Bangladesh. I am Tarin Aman, President of the Chamber, and I will be your host for today's show. The NCCI is a platform providing a unified voice of Nordic businesses operating in Bangladesh. We are committed to engaging with the government of Bangladesh and other stakeholders at various levels to advocate policy changes which will assist our members and aid in the growth of the country. Today's conversation is a continuation of this effort. We are excited to have His Excellency Charles Whiteley, Head of Delegation, European Union in Bangladesh, as our guest. Ambassador, thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Nordic Talk.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure and I look forward to our exchange.
Your Excellency, even though it has been a while since you have been in Bangladesh, but I would like to take this opportunity again to welcome you to Bangladesh.
Thanks so much. I left in 2009, so it's been a little while, 12 years, but I came back September last year. Very happy to be back and to see how Bangladesh has changed in all that time and also to take forward EU-Bangladesh relations in the coming, what I hope will be 3 or 4 years.
Your Excellency, it must have been a unique experience to take charge of the Commission in the middle of the pandemic. How have you coped personally with the constantly changing COVID situation?
I think it's certainly presented quite a few challenges to the delegation. Of course, it's presented challenges all over the world. We have, countries who've had to get to grips with this pandemic, and Bangladesh, I think, has done a very good job in getting to grips with the pandemic and ensuring that its effects are as minimized as possible. Of course, it's a struggle for all of us. Personally, in the delegation, we have 65 people, and of course, several colleagues did succumb to the illness, but thankfully we had nobody who died. But it clearly made a challenge to introduce new working methods like everybody else. We went on to flexi time and people working from home. And overall, I think it worked quite well. It didn't affect our productivity or our work to a massive degree. But I'm just happy that the pandemic seems to be drawing to a close. Of course, the Omicron variant has posed challenges as well, but I think we see light at the end of the tunnel now, both in economic terms in Bangladesh, but also in terms of impact on the health situation. So I'm happy to see that.
You're absolutely right, Your Excellency. I would like to say that Bangladesh has done tremendously well in these challenging times. Our economy has been moving forward. As you have mentioned, many people have been ill, many people have gone through a very difficult time, but one way or another, we have managed to come through from it.
Yes.
Your Excellency, this year marks 50 years of independence of Bangladesh. The country has come a long way. Social, health, and economic indicators have improved significantly. Europe has been a constant partner in this development journey. What are your thoughts on our performance, and what are your expectations for our future?
I think, first of all, Bangladesh has to be congratulated for the huge strides that it's made as a country. I mean, 50 years is not a long time in terms of history, but so much has happened in those 50 years for Bangladesh, emerging from the war and rebuilding the country or building the country. So I think it's very inspiring to see how on so many indicators, human development indicators, Bangladesh has made huge progress, whether that's child mortality, maternal mortality, but also on the economic front, of course. The economy has transformed. We now see a country that is predicted to have 6.6% growth, this year, which is remarkable considering the impact of the pandemic. We have a country that's rapidly industrializing, a country that is the garment workshop of the world, exporting, the second largest exporter of ready-made garments. All things point to a self-confidence now in Bangladesh, which is really striking. And I think, there's so many other areas where Bangladesh can come through and continue to build on this success. I mean, you look at some simple indicators. I have looked at how things have changed since I was last here. Power generation has gone up fourfold, in the space of 12 years. And also, life expectancy. Now, I think I'm not mistaken in saying life expectancy has risen dramatically to 72 years on average. So all these things point to improving health, improving education, improving development, but also improving business prospects. And that's something we're very happy to see from a European Union perspective.
This leads me to a significant trade question for you, Your Excellency. the bilateral trade with the European Union has increased significantly. A major propeller for that growth was the GSP facility extended to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is looking forward to the LDC graduation in due time. This brings about significant policy changes and access to market for our traditional export basket. There are talks of tariff increases, escalation. Additionally, we want to be the preferred trading partner of Europe and want transitional support and continuation of the Everything But Arms EBA program for a reasonable period to attain a sustainable growth. Furthermore, being on the GSP Plus list is an utmost importance for the government of Bangladesh. What can we do to assist? What are the 2-3 factors you think would be most important for us to attain the GSP Plus?
I think first of all, as you said, I mean, Bangladesh we are as EU the largest destination for Bangladesh's exports, and one of the drivers of that has been, of course, the duty-free, quota-free access that Bangladesh has to the EU market as the least developed country. That saves about 12% duty on ready-made garments, for example, every year. So it's a significant sum. But I think the first important point to make is that this isn't an overnight transition. We now see Bangladesh graduating to developing country status, and it won't be a big bang change. We have a 3-year transition period until 2029. So there's plenty of time for planning. And what reassures me is that we see the government, we see business, we see think tanks, we see everybody engaging on this issue and saying, what do we have to do to ensure continuity after 2029 when everything but arms, the duty-free, quota-free access comes to a close? And that, of course, the answer to that question is very simple. Bangladesh should accede to GSP Plus. And I think the conditions for that are quite clear. At the moment, the EU is working on a new regulation for the next 10-year period for our general system of preferences. And that's a regulation that covers not only countries like Bangladesh, but the whole world for different kinds of preferences that we accord. And for GSP Plus, it's now required for a country to sign and ratify and implement 32 conventions. These are all in the social rights fields, environmental and human rights fields, climate change as well. And Bangladesh is well placed there in terms of the ratification process. Bangladesh has ratified 31 of the 32 instruments. I think the final one is the ILO Convention 138 on minimum age. So all that is a work in progress. And of course, the more that is done now to ensure Bangladesh fulfills these conventions, the better placed Bangladesh will be to continue having this duty-free, quota-free access, effectively duty-free, quota-free access to the EU market. So there's that side of things, but I think also it's important to continue encouraging export diversification. I was checking the other day on, I think garments still account for over 80% of the export basket of Bangladesh. And there are lots of other fields where, leather or pharmaceuticals or even, automobiles, who knows, all these different areas where Bangladesh could boost its exports to the EU and then minimize the risk that there'll be a shock to the system. If you put all your eggs in one basket and there is a shock to the system, that could be disruptive for the economy. And I think there's planning going on. The government has various committees, as you know, dealing with the graduation. We're invited to participate as an international partner in some of those discussions. And we want to be helpful. It's not in our interest to see disruption to the trading relationship. So we'll do everything we can through close coordination, explanation of how the law is being formulated, how it might be changed if necessary, and through all our process, our legal process, we'll keep in close contact with Bangladesh and, of course, with business, because that's, you, of course, have a very important stake in the whole development.
Right. Yeah, Your Excellency, you have rightly mentioned that Bangladesh has a major exposure in garments as far as export is concerned. But besides garments, we also have Grameenphone, the largest mobile network, which is listed as a subsidiary of Telenor, a Norwegian company. We also have Maersk shipping line, who's been playing a very active role in the logistics sector, providing crucial support in trade. So yeah, besides that, H&M, as I was saying, as far as garments is concerned, H&M is also one of the largest garment buyers from Bangladesh. So as you have rightly mentioned, we do want to see a diversification. We do want to see a well spread out in as far as our export to Europe is concerned. Your Excellency, my question to you is that How do you foresee European FDI is impacting Bangladesh economy? As I mentioned about Grameenphone, Mars Shipping Line, H&M, all of these corporations.
I mean, I think first of all, it's great to see that such big companies from Europe are doing well in the Bangladesh markets, and that speaks to the opportunities that there are in Bangladesh. And I think business is increasingly eyeing Bangladesh for those opportunities. What I see though is an FDI sector that's perhaps underperforming. And if you look at the figures from Europe, we have 2 billion euro in FDI from Europe in Bangladesh. Compare that to Vietnam, it's 6 billion euro from the EU in FDI for a smaller country, a much smaller population. So I think that shows that perhaps we need to catch up a little bit. How do we do that? I think obviously there's a clear answer, and that's by making it easier for foreign investors to come to Bangladesh, and that means cutting red tape. It means, as far as possible, creating a level playing field, removing non-tariff barriers, and so forth. So I think the government is engaged on that. We are engaged on that. We want to make sure that business takes a look at Bangladesh and likes what it sees. And there are different sectors where this could happen. So I hope to see that coming on stream while I'm here in Bangladesh, and I think there's definitely scope for that. And it's to use a cliche, that's a win-win, because it will be a win for Bangladesh, whether in terms of technology transfer or the creation of jobs, but also a win for the European companies who want to make money in an expanding market in Bangladesh.
Your Excellency, what other sectors or industries do you think Bangladesh will benefit from foreign direct investment from the EU?
I think there are a lot of areas where the EU has perhaps a good record in terms of technology, whether that be green technology, climate change, renewable technology. Bangladesh has a growing ICT sector. The digitalization agenda is moving ahead very quickly in Bangladesh, and I think that's an area where definitely investment could work. Pharmaceuticals, we see that's a sector that has a huge potential. It's growing. Chemicals, perhaps, machinery and equipment, and infrastructure. There's so much happening on the infrastructure front here that I'm sure EU firms would like to be active there. So really, technical and financial services is another one. I met some business representatives the other day who were telling me they're training up people in Bangladesh to offer at a distance, services, financial services, and so on. And that would be an area, perhaps not traditionally happening in Bangladesh, but where there's a huge growth potential. So I think there's a lot of exciting areas that could really come on stream more and more in the next few years.
Okay. This leads to my next question. As discussed earlier, the EU is a major market for Bangladeshi exports. The demand in Europe is significant. The demand in Europe significantly propels demand for export order and earns Bangladesh foreign currency. How has the European economy coped with the pandemic? And what is the economic outlook forecast for Europe?
Well, I think certainly the pandemic had a very detrimental impact, of course, and we saw the kind of contraction of economies that doesn't normally happen in peacetime. So that of course at the time was very worrying. But I think what we're seeing is a reassuring rebound. When you look at consumer confidence, consumer spending, and other indicators, the economies are bouncing back. I think it's very good to see that Bangladesh's economy is certainly bouncing back, and I understand from garments exporters that the books are full until well into the summer. So I hopefully this impact of COVID will be in a very short period of time, and we'll get back to normal very quickly. And certainly the signs are there that this will happen and is happening.
Your Excellency, sustainability and digitization are at the core of the NCCI's work in Bangladesh. They are an integral part of the long-term growth, ease of doing business, and greater transparency in the economy. We're currently planning seminars followed by a publication launch focused on the logistics sector and power sector in Bangladesh. We hope to also work on water sustainability in the near future. What are your thoughts on our work?
I think it's fantastic you're going to work in this area and are working in this area and stimulating reflections here, because these are clearly sectors, where there's huge potential. And we are also going to be working in some of these areas. For example, green transition is one of our 3 funding priorities for the next 7 years. That includes renewable energy, climate change, and we'll be bringing on stream blending, what we call blending of loans and grants through the European Investment Bank, that's now rebranding itself as a climate change bank. So I think it's great that you are looking at these areas because sustainability is going to be a big thing for the future. It feels like the idea has been around for a long time, but now it's becoming reality. You see that in Bangladesh with the LEED certification where you see, factories being certified as being compliant with various environmental standards, but also trying to produce products in as sustainable a way as possible. And that should maybe it doesn't bring us quicker dividend in terms of market, enthusiasm, or consumer enthusiasm in key market destinations. But I think it will be an investment worth making because consumers are becoming increasingly aware of this. As resources become more precious, as climate change takes hold, the future is definitely in sustainability. Of course, it's the same with logistics. This is, particularly in the Bangladesh context, we see a growing economy. I went to visit Chittagong port the other week and saw how all the facilities are being upgraded. The deep sea port, the Patenga container terminal. All these things mean Bangladesh will be very well placed to play a leading role in the logistics sector. And we had the first direct shipment, as you may know, from Italy with a container ship, and other EU member states are keen on following this example. So I'm pleased that you're getting involved in these areas because I think that's looking to the future and looking to how you can shape Bangladesh's economy with others in the coming years.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Lastly, on behalf of the NCCI, I want to ask you about your thoughts on the NCCI, our various initiatives, including the NordicTALK, which we have started recording during the pandemic, since in-person events are difficult to coordinate. What are your thoughts on our work?
Well, I've certainly seen, I think everybody knows when I landed in Bangladesh, people said to me, the NCCI is a gold standard chamber. We know that you do you really punch above your weight as well. I think you show the way for how to engage as business with different actors, whether it's, civil society, whether it's us as diplomatic community or the government. So I think it's fantastic you're doing that work. And I think the energy you bring to your work is also very important. And I think you play a convening role. You bring different stakeholders together. And that's really important. We should listen to everybody, getting the balance right in for Bangladesh, but also for Nordic companies and beyond Nordic. So I hope we can work together closely. As you know, I'm also keen on exploring the possibility of a European Chambers of Commerce. And that would be a good complement to the work that you do. And I hope that if that comes on stream, those two institutions can work very closely together because there's so much we can learn from how you go about your business, I think.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your kind words. We do look forward to working together with you and create more synergy and make the ease of doing business much more easier and smooth so the Nordic companies can flourish even more in Bangladesh. My last question to you, Your Excellency. What are some of the things we can do in the future to improve Nordic NCCI?
Well, I would say keep on doing what you're doing because I think you found the right recipe. I think the more you can engage on the sort of impediments to trade, which I know you do, the things that perhaps stop people from coming to Bangladesh or stop them from taking another look at Bangladesh, that's all to the good. I guess you also saw the CNN campaign that was on recently for Bangladesh, Dreams Are Made in Bangladesh, projecting a modern image of the country. And I think that's what you also do. I think to carry on projecting this more modern perception of Bangladesh, because sometimes perceptions are lagging. I find that in Europe, people don't really know where Bangladesh is right now. They have a perception of Bangladesh that's perhaps 20 years out of date. And you as business can really help spread the word that Bangladesh, you should look again at Bangladesh and see the modern, vibrant, current Bangladesh and not the Bangladesh of several years ago.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Charles Whiteley, for your time today. The NCCI is looking forward to building a close working relationship with your office in the coming days. We believe that our members and the greater business community will benefit from such collaboration.
I look forward to it. Thank you for having me on this show, which I think is also a very good initiative. So I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. Dear viewers, I want to thank you for tuning in for this very special episode of the Nordic Talk. Hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with His Excellency Charles Whiteley, Head of Delegation, European Union in Bangladesh. I hope you will join us again for our next episode. This is Tarin Aman signing off.